Shalom, welcome to Practical Spirituality here in the holy city of Tzfat at Shaar HaYichud. I'm in a situation with myself where I realize we're all in, and that is our inner and outer world, where the inner world just doesn't want to go out, and your outer world. Some people live only in the outer world, and sometimes you just don't want to. It seems the more you're in a world, the more you're in it, the less you're interested you are in leaving it. And I've spent so many years in an extremely outer expression, but I always balanced it with my inner world, because I've been doing a lot of deep work on myself, and I haven't ignored my inner world at all in my development. But I've been maybe one of the most externalized people I know who have gone as deep internally. And I look at some of my friends and colleagues who aren't going as deep, aren't going out as much. And I would say I've even been judgmental over the years. You know, I'm an original gangster of Aish HaTorah, where the Rosh Shiva said, if you know Aleph, you teach Aleph. If you know Beis, you teach Beis. If you know Gimel, you teach Gimel. Meaning, all learning is Almanas Liluy. Everything you learn is to teach. That's it. And that was my original training. And so I was just a young 23-year-old, you know, and just like, well, I know Aleph, so let's teach Aleph. And the program we had that I wound up being one of the main teachers of is called Discovery, which is proofs of how we can prove the Torah is divine. And I still hadn't finished the alphabet. I mean, I still didn't know every letter yet. And I was already the teacher of the final class of the Discovery seminar. I led that class. It was an hour class on how to integrate. Now that you know Torah is true, how do you make it you? And that was my class for the next 3 years. I started that class 6 weeks having arrived as an atheist. And so, I had arrived as an atheist. I was no longer an atheist. And so here I was tough on people about the external world. But recently, my son, my sons are my sons, let's just put it like that. So these are apples close to the tree. But one of my sons said to me, he's a very deep inner world guy. And right now he's only on inner world, like nothing out external. And I keep telling him, like, because he lives in a neighborhood called Ramat Shlomo, and it's like, there's no one to be mashpia in Ramat Shlomo unless you're like a Rosh Kollel or something. And here's my son, this like incredible mashpia who refuses really yet to do so. And I said, don't buy a place there, buy a place in Yerushalayim, or rent a place in Yerushalayim where you'll be a Rebbe. That's me. And he says to me, it's rape. I said, rape? Like, that's a rough word. He says, well, what is it? What is it? Because the male is a mashpia. The male is the causer. The female is the mikabel. So the teacher is the mashpia. And the Talmud is the mikabel. And if you're giving something someone doesn't want, because maybe they don't know they want it, but they don't want it. Maybe they should know that. Maybe they should want it. Maybe there's a way you could get them to want it. But to teach to someone who doesn't want it is rape. And who says it's going to lead to good things? And maybe it's leading to bad things. And anyway, this was him on our way back from Pinsk Karlin last week, walking in our gold robes and holding hands. We're the only father and son duo that hold hands through Mea Shearim. But we're mamish kaftans and talis, and we hold hands when we walk through Masha. You should see the tatis walking with their sons, because you pass the same people every week. You should see them blush when we walk.
We're only laughing because it's sad.
It's also cute.
Anyway, however, I'll counter that. I didn't counter him. I just left. I was speechless. I didn't say a word. But I counter that with the fact that you can be an Ummah. You know, we are in Tzfat, and this is a town that creative sculptors and painters and musicians they're Umanim, and they create vessels. There are certain people who can create a vessel out of someone who wasn't ready to listen, someone who wasn't ready to hear. And we went through this during the .com era. When the .com hit in 1999, what happened was, for the first time in modern Western history, people didn't have questions. First time people didn't have questions. Obviously, seekers had questions. People seeking had questions. But it created a spoon-fed listener that no longer was asking. I mean, when you give enough info to people on in the information age we live in, where information's just literally, and now that we have chat, we have AI, it's like, forget it. But now that we live in an age where information's just coming at you without any plea, without any request, without any desire for it, it just comes at you. So, and this started right at the .com thing, and we were sensitive to it, because the whole job of a rabbi at Aish in the 80s and 90s, I came in 91, was to answer these deep questions that these backpackers were coming with. If you could answer the question, they were in. If you couldn't answer it, so anyway, everyone was coming as a kli, full of questions. What is a question? A question's a kli. So everyone was coming with a kli, and your job was to answer. If you can answer, you transform someone's life. If you couldn't answer, then you go learning Kollel or something, if you can't answer. So go study. And what happened was, in year 2000, for the first time ever, the groups came. We had 15 to 25,000 people a year, depending on the year. But the 15, 25,000 people coming through your doors is a lot of people. For the first time ever, there was no questions. So we all got together, the rabbis got together, and we were schmoozing. We're like, what are we going to do? Like, what has happened? There are no questions. The answer is because the internet hit. And you're getting answers before you even get questions. So there are no questions. And so what we decided was that we'll start every class with questions. Start with questions. Ask questions. And if you see the people light up, say, hey, that is an important question. I never thought about that. That's an important question. So we started off with answers, then we went for questions and answers, creating questions and then answers, and then whatever. There was another thing. Was 2007 was smartphones came out. 2007. That was a very special time too, because it also marked the 40 years in the desert. Because it was 1967, on the sixth day of the sixth spheres, meaning on the sixth sphere of Yesod, on the sixth week. Yesod Shebi Yesod was the 6-day war. The 6-day war broke out on the sixth day of the sixth sphere. And what that did, that miraculous war, caused an awakening in Israel to create the Baal Tshuva movement of Israel. So like the real Baal Tshuva movement hit during the 6-day war. And in America, that was the day, you can Google this if you want, that was the day that LSD left the labs. I mean, it was leaving the labs, but something about that day, it was all over the streets. Like, it had only been in laboratories. It had only been used for therapeutic research and stuff like that. And all of a sudden, bam, hits the streets. And one of my mashpim, a guy named Shalom Simcha, who was one of the big mashpim, like you guys would have all been sitting in a Shalshudas in Yerushalayim, had you known him at the time. He passed away young. Anyway, Shalom Simcha said he was a secular Jewish kid, 18 years old, in a Lower East Side high school. And he said that there was no one who wasn't on LSD that day. And then that group of people went basically to India, but some of the Jews, I don't know, maybe they fell out of the flight on the way to Israel, to India, or on the way back, fell into here. And I think everyone here knows people in Tzfat who you can smell was from that generation, and they're from that era. Anyway, I just, since I mentioned Shalom Simcha, I just want to say that my career, my whole life is because of him, because I was at his funeral. And they were talking about all these things all the contributions he had made in his external world. And we didn't know that. We thought he was only internal. It turned out he had been doing a lot of big tikkunim in the world of external hashpah as a mashpia. We didn't know. We thought he was our mashpia. It turned out he was many people's mashpia. And he had done a lot of things. And it bothered us. It bothered me at the funeral, because I said to myself that if I died, I think I was 26, I said, if I died today, nothing could be said about me. Nothing could be said. It'll be about surfing maybe, or some other stupid, vain ego thing. But nothing would be said about me. And at his funeral, I decided that from this day forward, I'm writing my hesped. From this day forward, I'm writing my eulogy. And now I was a hardcore environmentalist, so like have the smallest footprint. But from that day forward, I said, you better have the biggest fingerprints. Mm-hmm. That you touch the world. That you make sure you touch the world in every way you can. And anyway, but when the cell phones came out, that's when everything shifted, because people stopped coming. Because what kind of person's going to fly across the world with a backpack looking for truth when he's got in his hand everything he could ever want to know? And we found out the answer to who's coming in with a backpack to Israel, who's got a smartphone. It's someone who's running from the law or some other serious issue. Like meaning this is a guy who's running away from something. And so whatever, that was when Kiruv ended as we knew it during the 40 days. But 67 is cool. 2007 is 40 years, which is a cool number. It's the 40 years in the desert. It's 40 years in the desert where people were just like that. And then all of a sudden people were just like that. And it was the end of an era. And here we are now. It's like way after that. And we all know that the world's gone crazy. Speaking of the world gone crazy, let's learn a little of this Torah here. We're in Bereshis, the third chapter of Bereshis, Pasuk Kaf Daled, the 24th Pasuk. And it says, Vayigarish es ha'odam v'yashkein mikedem legan Eden. And man was thrown out of the Garden of Eden. It's very interesting that it doesn't mention Chava here, because Adam and Chava are two separate beings now, but it's very cool that they're called Adam still.
Shmam Adam.
What?
Shmam Adam.
Shmam Adam, yeah. But here they're still called Adam in this pasuk. I don't know if there's any other pasuk like this, where once they're separate, they're called Adam. V'yigarsh es ha'adam. And it's v'yashkein mikedem legan Eden. And now he dwells to the east of the Garden of Eden. Esa kruvim, the Garden of Eden. Esa kruvim, and then there's kruvim, which are like cherubs. Yeah, like on the kaporas, like on the lid of the Aron. Et hakruvim ve'es lahat hacherev. And this lahat is an interesting word. It's not so easy to understand that word. And Rashi goes into it a bit. Hacherev, the sword. Hamishapeches, a spinning sword. So there's this spinning sword. Lahat isn't so clear. Rashi says lahat might mean shlufa, like an unsheathed sword. But lahat also means like a flame, like a burning sword, like a flaming sword. that's spinning. So I want everyone right now to just get in your mind a spinning sword. Okay? Maybe close your eyes a sec and see a lit up spinning sword. And it's mishapechet. Okay? Keep your eyes closed and see the spinning sword. And notice the word mishapechet. It means opposites, la'afoch, afuchim. So it's obviously a sword has two sides. Now get rid of the handle of the sword and let both sides be pointed. And it has opposite sides. So maybe make a color for each side. Turn one side, I don't know, red, one side white, or one side blue. And it's spinning. And what is it doing? You can see through it because it's spinning so fast, you can see right through it. It's dangerous. You don't want to get cut. You don't want to go through it because it's pretty dangerous. It's a sword. And what is it doing? Lishmoras derech Eitz HaChaim. It's guarding. It's keeping you from a place called the derech Eitz HaChaim. It's keeping you from the path to the Eitz HaChaim, meaning the path. You've probably been thinking that it's keeping you from the Eitz HaChaim. Okay, you can open your eyes. It's keeping you from the path of the Eitz HaChaim. But the Eitz HaChaim. You've been probably thinking over the years that it keeps you from the tree of life. But it's actually keeping you from the path of the tree of life because the tree of life is its own. It's a destination and you got to get there. You got to get there, meaning you're not necessarily seeing the Eitz HaChaim. It's keeping you from the path. Now, you do have something already though. Meaning in this video game you're playing, like you're this little character going, moving along. There is something you have eaten that's going to be maybe the key through the sword. Because you got the spinning sword. It's guarding the derech Eitz HaChaim, but you have eaten something. And maybe what you've eaten is going to get you through there. What have you eaten? You've eaten from the fruit of the tree of opposites. You ever thought about that? It's the Eitz HaDas Tov V'Ra. You've already eaten the fruit of the flipping sword, so to speak. You ate the fruit of the flipping world, of good and evil. Well, good and evil has an easy way and it has a difficult way. The easy way is the mitzvahs aseh and the mitzvahs lo aseh. That's the easy one because we have a perfect list, a spreadsheet, what yes to do and what not to do. And I'd like to just mention, I think you guys will enjoy that you know what's cool about having a list of what not to do? What's the diuk? I mean, if you have a list from God himself saying, don't do these things, what does it mean about all the rest of the stuff? Do it. Do it. And that is the more difficult world of good and evil. Is all the stuff that's called mutter. Mutter. You see, the list of things not to do is called usr. The things that you're not allowed to do is called usr. Usr means tied up. Tied up like a knot that's tied. It's asur. It's tied. What's it tied to? It's tied to the world of tumah, the world of extremity, the furthest from the light is, right? All Hashem's light is the good, the Ein Sof. The furthest from the light is the darkness. The further you get from the light, the darker it gets. That darkness, we have a list of 365 forbidden things. And by the way, the number 365 has to do with the zodiac because you know how Israel has no mazel? We're above the zodiac. But if someone is chas shalom not careful with this 365 negative commandments, he's going to have a stronger horoscopic influence than a goy. It's a very interesting thing that a Gentile who is completely run by his horoscope, by the zodiac, A Jew has no horoscope, meaning his birth zodiac, the influences of his birth date and the year as it goes in its cycle, has no influence. But if he is involved in one of the 365 negative commandments, then the entire zodiac lands on him harder than it would a Gentile, harder than it would a non-Jew. That's why if you're finding yourself getting ripped around, like if you find yourself just getting ripped to pieces, like just getting like swung around like all over the place, before you go speak to all the Rebbes, maybe first just consult whether you've been lackadaisical or maybe you didn't know you're involved in one of the mitzvahs lo yisaseh. It's not simple. We counted in the Rambam some 30,000 halachas. 30,000 laws based on the negative commandment. So all it takes is to blow one of those, and you're already blowing the commandment. Anyway. So this thing's flipping around, and we need to get through. And how do we get through to the path? How do we get through to the path of the tree of life? And the answer is that I'm going to answer first, is that you have to be a person who can contain hafuchos. You have to be a person who can contain paradox, opposites. You meet a lot of people these days who are a little simple, maybe. They're not Jewish, usually. Although you do meet Jews who fall into this too, and we don't have to mention who they are, but Hamev Yovin, who get glommed onto some thing, and this is religions in the world. It's not Judaism, but it's religion in the world, but we have our own little sects that do this. They get glommed onto something. And this is it, man. There is no hafuchos. There's no opposite. There's no paradox. They don't like paradox. They like the algorithm that just nods. You know, it's like everyone who speaks on Fox News or CNN, whatever those news, BBC, they always start with exactly. Meaning the person introduced them says basically what the point they want them to say. And then the guy they're interviewing says, exactly. And then they give their expert opinion. It's like the Gentile world repudiates paradox. They hate paradox. Yet all the wisest people in the world have always been the people who can hold paradox. Because if you can't hold paradox, that's not wisdom. Wisdom is not that you have set up your algorithm to nod in your direction. You know, that's not wisdom. And, you know, just like this wall was designed for its beauty, but only at a distance, if you stepped in too close to it, it's just like, I would call this ugly, actually. But as you step away, you see that these disparate colors and it was also not level, but now it's like got texture from a distance. And so as I back out, I can see that. And you want to hear an interesting formula? What you guys ever thought, like, I'm sure you all think that spirituality is something like you can never define it. You can't give it a formula, spirituality. But I have one formula for spirituality, which is only one type of spirituality. Maybe under the subject of bitachon, but there's he's good. You know what the formula is? How long it takes you to know that whatever you're going through is for the good. How long it takes you. Because even the most dense person in the world, you could ask him, I'm telling you, you could go outside and find the biggest like Amaretz on the street, and say, can you tell me something you went through over 10 years ago? Something difficult. And so they'll say, yeah, whatever. Someone died, or they went bankrupt, or they had a terrible accident, or whatever it might have been. And then you say to them, and now, it's over 10 years later. Do you see the puzzle piece now in your life? Do you see how that was very much part of this whole, it's like Rabbi Nachman's story of the cripple who had lost it all, but then while he was eating out of the grass, he found a diamond that turned out to be and he had to lose it all to find the diamond that wound up healing his leg. And anyway, the point is that we're all in a process, and that process, if you're able to see the negative in real time as the positive, that would be a strong indication of spirituality. That spirituality is how long it takes you to realize that it was for the good.
So it's bitachon.
Yeah, it's bitachon.
The faster you get to bitachon.
The faster you get to bitachon. So that speed to bitachon is really where it's at. The speed you get to bitachon.
You're differentiating emunah and bitachon. I can know it, but I won't feel it. So I can know it and not consider it spiritual.
Right.
I'm suffering, and I know it's for my best.
Right.
It's not the emunah. It's the bitachon.
Right.
It's the outcome of your emunah. Right?
Yeah. Is that always the case? Okay.
I once saw a lady bang her head on a gate. She was a stooped over lady in her mid-late 80s, I don't know. And she was on her way to shul. And a guy walked out of the men's shul and said hi to me. And I said hi to him, but she thought I was saying hi to her. So this old tzaddikus looked up at the wrong time, and her forehead went into the lip of an old gate. And just like, bam. And she was seeing stars. We both ran before she fell because she was not conscious. She was like going unconscious. Anyway, we got her into the Ezra's Nashim, got her sat down, and when we walked out, we were like, she said something on impact. And when she hit that gate, she said something. What did she say? And then I realized what she said. She said, Magia li. On impact. On impact, she said it was coming to me. It was coming to me. So this lady was in real time. So yeah, the guy on the street, and you want to hear something cool? There's a proof of God that 8 billion people. There's 8 billion people. Every single person, if you go up to and ask them if he went through something difficult over 10 years ago, all 8 billion would say yes. All 8 billion could tell you a story, and all 8 billion would tell you why that was an absolute necessary evolution. It's the weirdest thing. But you realize that's a proof of God. Why? Because how is it possible, what I just said, how is it possible? How is it possible that there's a being that has this whole place so completely sewn up? How is it possible that 8 billion people have their most difficult times sewn up within a matter of years? And us to have that equanimity, which is hafuchos. The word equanimity is the word shavisi. It means, it's a fancy word for equal. Equanimity is the state of equals. Now everyone close your eyes again. Close your eyes and see the swords. The two edges of those swords, and it's shooting around. If we had a strobe light, it'd be looks like it's standing still. But it's shooting around. And now I want you to notice something. That the very center of I want you to notice that the very center, look at the sword, it's shooting around the extremities, meaning the outer edge of the sword is shooting around. But I want you to notice that the center of the sword never moves. It never moves. It's perfectly stable. I mean, it's moving, but it's really just spinning around itself. Open your eyes. that center is the center of the opposites. That's the center of the paradox. That's the holding opposites. That's the holding of hashgacha pratis. That's coming your way, whether it's looks good or doesn't look good at the moment. It's that wisdom to hold it. Now, what is it about the Eitz Hadas Toiv Ra that gives us the ability to get through the Cherav, get us through the Cherav HaMishapeches, to get us through that sword that flips around? What is it about that Eitz Hadas Tov Ra? So as I said, there's Tov Ra, that's the obvious one, that's the mitzvahs aseh, mitzvahs lo aseh. But then there's what's called klipas noga. It's the stuff that does, today it might be great, tomorrow it might not. In this particular situation, it might be the right thing to do. In this particular situation, it would be the opposite from the right thing to do. It's like klipas noga, the noga is all the stuff that's not a commandment. It's this cup of coffee. It's this cup of water. It's my car. It's my having lunch later. And what about that choice? What about that choice gets you through that flipping sword? And Rebbetzin Sar Yehudit Schneider, one of the great teachers of this generation, brings down in the name of the Karmana Rebbe that Esther Amalka is teaching us how to do it by how she gets into King Achashverosh. She's like crossing through. And when you read the Megillah Esther, we know like she's got serious issues. If he doesn't raise his scepter to her, she's going to be killed. And if he does, she's going to make it. But just the fact that she can just walk in there and through all, guard. Kings are usually guarded. I mean, we only know from the story his own guarding is the scepter, whether he's going to raise it or not. But like she's like just moving through. Moshe Rabbeinu and Aaron are moving through. They just go right through. It's like they live they're living with Pharaoh, with Paro. And the way through is to be someone who knows how to navigate Noga. And meaning you know how to navigate all the neutral stuff, the world of mutter. And the word mutter means untied. It's available. It's available. It's a sandwich. It's a conversation with somebody. It's lunch. It's just driving down the street. It's all the decisions we're making in our lives. Yeah.
Is it maybe that? What was the knowledge? Like, what was the tree? Yeah, we ate it, but it's called not Etz Tov Vera, Dat Tov Vera. Just the knowledge that I know that there's two sides. Meaning, I could drink this coffee for good or for bad. That already will help me to get through it. No?
All right.
Not necessarily being able to master it, but just knowing that there is two sides to it.
Right, but there's also, the very next line in the Torah here says, "V'hadam yada es chava ishtoi," and Adam knew that you got the word das in the very next line. V'hadam yada, meaning it's got a sword flipping around, guarding the way of the path. And if you take away all the fact that that's the end of a pasuk, it's the end of a parak actually. If you get rid of that, the next words are V'ha'adam yada. And he knew. He had Dea, but there's another thing about Das. Das has many things. It means knowledge, like you're saying. It means to know, which is to cohabitate sexually. Is the same word, but there's another no, and that's to integrate. Das is also full integration. And that's going to be our answer. The third Das is going to be our answer. They're all related. But the third one is the Rebbes say a very strong thing in that this is where Ruach HaKodesh is. Ruach HaKodesh is when you've mastered Noga. Ruach HaKodesh means when you're in the neutral things. Like we all at least know in the morning to go get our tefillin and go to the shul and like say Kriya Shema, and that we know. But all the stuff in Noga we don't know. But what if you did know? What if you knew? What if you could master that? What if you're the person who sits at the center of the sword where you can hold opposites? You can hold the opposites. I'm going to say it like this. If you can hold opposites, then every place in between is icing on the cake. Yochanan Chabad is if you can hold opposites, then all the stuff within.
You don't need to be at the extremes.
Yeah.
You find your way in the middle.
But you're also, meaning if you can be the person who can see all the opposites as one, then everywhere from the center where it actually is one, because the sword doesn't move at the center, it stays right there. Then everywhere from the opposite till the center is your jurisdiction. That's your land. That's where you live. Is there. And then when you're going through your day, you're B'tzalo, B'tzel Kel. You're B'chochma Bin and Das, walking around. So your navigation system is so spot on that you can actually walk straight through the sword without it touching you. That's the way through to Achashverosh. That's the way through to Pharaoh. But that's the way through to the Eitz HaChaim, to the path towards the Eitz HaChaim. Obviously, we're talking about, this is like a level to get to. But we know the path, and the path starts with opposites. Good and evil. Not the ones that are listed in the Torah, but the ones that are happening throughout your day. And that's, as you get good at that, you got to start with being able to hold the opposites. And with that vessel, you can hold everything within. And then you get the Siyata D'Shmaya. And you get the Ruach HaKodesh. What's Ruach HaKodesh? You get, you know where to go next. You know what's next. Where do I go next? And perhaps where we started this session was, how do you know when to stay internal, and how do you know when your mayanot are supposed to go outward? How do you know that? Well, that you'd know as well. This week's Parsha, Matos. It's funny, I'm flying on Parshas Matos. I'm actually going to the Syrian community of Deal, New Jersey, to lead a Pasbiyu seminar this week. Yeah, I have an intro on Thursday and then a seminar
space?
Sunday. What?
Is there still space?
Yeah, you know deal people? Great. Anyway, it also gives you a key to Siyata Dishmaya, and that's to keep your word. People who keep their word also get Siyata Dishmaya. You know, Shlomo Melech said, don't say it if you're not going to do it. Throughout the book of Koheles, he mentions several times, keep your word. This week's parsha is about keeping your word. And which is another key. I was just mentioning it as a side note regarding Siyata Dishmaya. But anyway, Ruach HaKodesh, to know what to do, when to do it, is your navigational, that's your navigation, that's your GPS. And that's what can get you through this sword of opposites, the flipping sword, the burning sword of opposites. If you want to get to the tree of life.
Or at least on the path.
What's that?
Or at least on the path.
Yeah, on the path to the tree of life, yeah. So, learn how to walk in the Noga. Learn how to walk in the Noga and take that little pill you took, that little pill of the knowledge of good and evil, and let it go into your bloodstream and get the instincts that come with to the person who can hold opposites and see the oneness and the multiplicity, the perspective and the bitachon. Everyone should be blessed. That's good.
Any questions, Kevin?
I think the word shamor, though, is a good example of actual paradox, because the word needs to keep away, but also to lead to, when you're guarding the path, to remind you where it is, there's also a path to keep you away. So that word itself is,
interesting. Right.
That is shamor. What is that is shamor? It's not to keep anybody out of the gun, right? It's to upkeep it, to maintain its beauty.
Right. Right.
Why is it outside that?
This sword's protecting the derech.
Right.
Yeah.
Demarking the way. So don't forget, this is the way to return. This beaming, this light area, flame beacon that's spinning, whirring around.
Mm.
Don't forget.
That's the beginning. Is this about Benjamin Side?
No. Also,
It is.
Also-
It's like out of the darkness comes light. That's two opposites. All
there's
the
a rabbi
Aish
connected.
HaTorah are called Liluy Mashiach.
Right. Yeah, and it's 23 days. 3 weeks is 23 days, which is the same as the 23 days of Rosh Hashanah to the end of Sukkot. What?
More.
Well, it depends how you count it. But it's, sorry, 20. What's Rosh Hashanah to the end of, what?
21.
It's 21. It's 3 weeks, yeah. But you'll know, what is the one thing we have in common between these 3 weeks and those 3 weeks? What's the one thing you mentioned the most in all of the Yom Noraim? All the way through Sukkot. We're asking for Beis Hamikdash, basically. We never stop. We never stop asking for redemption. But we ask for redemption. So here we are in these 3 weeks. So people who try to avoid the 3 weeks and then come to Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur and like start getting all into their davening. So Hashem says, where were you? Where was you? Where were you during the other 3 weeks when it was the hard one? Like now that you're begging. I'll just share with you another Torah I learned from Susie Schneider, Shaar HaYichud Schneider. That amazing Torah, this would change my life. It's in her Pesach Haggadah. Is that that don't make the mistake of seeing Geula as the end result.
The solution of all your problems.
What's that?
The solution of all your problems.
Well, that too, but meaning just as a finish line that you run through. It is the process of life and that we're in. Meaning, the guy spilled his Coke on the staircase, but you come back an hour later and there's 200 ants having Kiddush. You see like rotting stuff, and then you come back a month later and you see all this stuff, like plants are like growing out of this rotten, stinky stuff. It's like redemption is now. So when you get into your Hoshanas, this Sukkos, you could easily walk around that circle going like, how many times can we possibly ask Hashem to save us? Where we want to get there already, like, come on. But we are the people we are a people that are about this upwelling of redemption. Meaning we're about this upbringing, this tzmicha. It's a sprouting. And every time you say Ana Hashem Shiana, Ana Hashem Tzlichana, or Hashem Oshia, Melech Yom Kolein, or like over and over and over, we just don't stop. And all of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur's davening is going to be about that. That's all we talk about. You're not even mentioned in the whole Machzor. Like here we're doing all this work on Elul to true, and then we think we come in Rosh Hashanah, it's going to be about you. It's not. You're not even mentioned in there. It's all Lashon Rabim. It's plural. We're in it. We're all about this sprouting. This is what we are. This is what the Jews are all about. So when's the culmination of it all? Pesach night, where we're going to have an entire celebration about this thing. So it's true, there will be a messianic era with a finish line. There's going to be that tape we're going to run through. But that is what's happening. Anyway, when I read that, I was like, now all I'm doing now, whenever I daven for redemption or I do Leila Seder or whatever, all I'm doing is tapping into a pipe. That's the pipe of redemption. That's probably, besides Hashem, it may even be bigger than Torah. I'm not sure what's a bigger theme. Probably redemption's a bigger theme than Torah. Probably goes Hashem,
Torah's probably the sword.
Torah is the sword.
Is the sword.
Okay, guys.
Where's the derech?
Huh?
Where's the derech?
Right, that's the derech. Gentlemen, thank you. I'm either going mountain biking or going to sleep. But
It's the same thing. It's the same thing inside.
Don't be brave to try both at the same time.
Yeah.
Can we get a special bracha for Shaar HaYichud? Hopefully we get to see you more often, but in the event that not.
Yeah, no, I would love to. So that's my takeaway is that I have to stop. I've been coming to Tzfat. I've been flying a lot, so when I come back to Eretz Yisrael, I just want to go into Tzfat and stare at my wife. And we sit overlooking Miron and we learn Sfarim, and that's all I've been doing. And I leave sometimes and go Toivon Daven. And that's it. And I realized that it's not appropriate. It's not really what I should be doing. And so I'm, that's what this day kind of represents. And so a bracha for Shaar HaYichud. I don't even know what the mission statement is.
What you just talked about.
Yeah?
Two opposites going towards Geulah. That's it. That's the whole Shaar HaYichud. We're trying to make Yichud.
Okay, I'll give a bracha that that the path of the individual, because you can't jump through a flaming sword as a whole group. That's going to be an individual thing. And you'll notice any Jewish community that tries to create chabura or a group of people together, a community, anything. As long as it's not deeply spiritual, they'll succeed. If it's deeply spiritual, they generally fail. And the reason why they generally fail if it's deeply spiritual is because the real path to Hashem is and always will be individual. So if you try to create a group shooting through the sword, it just starts slicing people off. Like it just like we're just getting hooked by the sword and it's flipping them off, and then now they're flipping you off, and they're like, it just gets dramatic, and now there's drama, and it's like klipa, and like you'll notice that I've noticed it. I'm hanging around the more spiritual parts of the Jewish world now for over 3 decades, and I've always seen anyone who tries to create a spiritual group, it just is. There's so many kitrugim. There's so much gets in the way. Opposition gets in the way of it. So here's my bracha. My bracha is that Shaar HaYichud, as well as every other chabura out there that's going for the goal of doing spirituality together, I bless this particular chabura with this in mind, to never to not make the mistake of trampling on the individual's path to Hashem. That somehow the chabura grows together in commitment to one another, and deeper exposed to one another, and to where you're just so close, because the more you expose, the closer you get. Like if you're ever wondering why you're not closer to people, it's because you don't expose yourself. But the more exposure you'll give to another human being, the closer you'll feel to them. And bless you guys to be so close in such a group. And but at the same time, somehow built into the chabura is the individual path. That is really the only path to the goal. And that it's almost in a way like I see your guys' group as you're spinning around in a circle holding hands, but you're getting all the energy of the whole circle, and there's Yisrael over there, and everyone just like together just goes and like shoots him up straight through the sword. Straight through the sword to the Derech Chaim, and he's just like, whoa.
We need a bigger group to throw me up.
And then he comes back down, and everyone's spinning around, and there's Noam, and it's like, Noam goes flying up. And meaning the Chabura understands that the individual path is honored always. And you come back together to take it to the next level.